And I had the opportunity to go to a Christian booksellers convention, which was in Orlando, Florida, in 2003. It was in June of 2003. And in the large dealers area where all of the book dealers and people who sell products to Christian bookstores have booths, and they're trying to sell their product to the people that come, all of the Christian book, local bookstore people. And I actually did notice that Doug Phillips was there in their program. And I think it even mentioned that the DeRosas were there and about the Allosaur. And I looked at that and I thought, well, this is in 2003, and I need to avoid going to that table. But I started going around one day in the dealer's room, and I accidentally came on their booth there, and they saw me. I was like maybe 20 feet away from them. And I really couldn't make a graceful exit, so I came up and started chatting with them. And they asked me, well, what do you think of the video? And I said, well, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I could. I said, you needed to give Joe Taylor credit in the video. I mean, he wasn't even mentioned in the credits. He's nowhere in your video. I mean, you give your dog a credit in the credit column, but Joe Taylor is not there, and Joe was the one that dug up, was instrumental in digging up this thing. Without him there, it wouldn't have been dug up. And they started getting defensive, and it was kind of interesting. It was Pete and the boys were there, and then Doug was he was further back in the booth, and he came out. It was interesting. It was kind of like the Red Sea was parting there. The guys were staying by. And Doug Phillips here is a very, very handsome guy. I mean, he's very slick and everything. And, he was talking to me, and he says, it was really a very awkward confrontation, because I said, you should have given Joe credit, and said, well, there's more to the story than you know. Say, listen, I was there. Don't give me that. I was there. And I knew I was going to kind of lose it at that point, and I just walked away. And Doug Phillips got out of the booth and followed me. He said, well, now you brought it up. Now you brought it up. And I said, I don't want to talk about it. This is not good. And I just took off, and it was really very, very awkward. Now, if I they wanted to have me come back in their booth with everybody around them. Doug had several of his employees there, as well as the DeRosas there, and I said, no, I'm not going to put myself into that situation, even though it was a public place. And that was my last contact with Doug. But Doug lost his cool on that. He was angry, as I have been a long-time supporter of the Institute for Creation Research in El Cajon. And I noticed on their website, I believe, that they were selling Raise the Allosaur video. And I actually wrote a letter to John Morris, and I said, I shared this with him, and I said, you really shouldn't be promoting this video. And he actually did write me back, and he says, well, there is another side to the story type thing, and I'm sorry. And at that point, I had been a long-time supporter of them. I mean, like, I went to one of their conferences that they had in 1973. Wow. In El Cajon. That was one of their first week-long institute. Well, they had a on scientific creationism. They had them actually there at that time. And I'd followed the ministry for years and years and years. Loved the ministry, loved, read their books and everything. And at that point, I actually stopped supporting them because I felt that, that was, they had gotten on the wrong track.